The atmosphere in the Israelite camp was electric, or so they thought. The soldiers were practically walking with their chests puffed out, talking trash about how they were going to mop up that little village called Ai. Listen, one of the scouts said to Joshua, leaning against a tent pole with a smirk. Don't even bother mobilizing the whole army. Boss, it's a joke of a city. Send maybe 3,000 of the guys, they'll do the job before lunch, and we'll be back before dinner. Joshua, usually the cautious one, actually chuckled. 3,000? You sure they won't just surrender when they see our shadow? Joshua? The scout laughed, patting his sword hilt. I saw their guards. They looked like they were playing hopscotch. Honestly, we could take them with one hand tied behind our backs. Deep inside the camp, however, Achan was having a very different kind of conversation. He was sitting in his tent, looking at a beautiful gold-threaded Babylonian cloak and a pile of silver, feeling like he'd just won the lottery. His wife whispered, her eyes darting towards the tent flaps.
Hey Ken, you know this is forbidden, right? If the leaders find out, they won't just throw you in a hole.
Achan wiped a silver coin on his tunic and grinned. Oh hush, who's going to look? Joshua is too busy writing his memoirs about how great we are. Besides, who's going to miss a few pieces of metal in a city that big? Everyone else was too busy grabbing big stuff. This is my retirement fund. God won't notice a little scrap of fabric, woman. Relax. The battle for Ai was the ultimate wake-up call. The 3,000 men charged up the hill, screaming, expecting the people of Ai to scatter like chicken. Instead, the men of Ai stood their ground, let out a war cry that sounded suspiciously like a mocking laugh, and charged back. The Israelites didn't even put up a fight. They turned, dropped their weapons, and sprinted down the hill. When they finally stumbled back into the camp, panting, muddy, and terrified, Joshua was standing there with his jaw dropped. What? Joshua stammered, looking at the lead soldier. You're back already? Where's the surrender? Where's the loot? The soldier was crying, wiping dust off his eyes. Boss, they didn't surrender. They looked like they'd been training in a gym for 10 years. They chased us like we were toddlers. 36 of the guys didn't make it back. They're just lying there in the dark. Joshua slammed to the ground, his voice barely a whisper. 36? But we're the chosen people. We're the ones who... Yeah, well, the soldier muttered. Tell that to the guys who currently dead. Joshua spent that night face down in the dirt, talking to the Almighty. And it was a conversation that sounded more like a heated argument. Seriously? Joshua muttered into the dust. You're going to let us lose to Ai? The local news is going to have a field day. They're going to say we were lucky in our last fight and that we were absolute frauds here. My reputation is toast. The kids are going to be scared to walk outside. What are you doing? Then the mood shifted. It wasn't funny anymore. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating, and cold. Joshua. The response came sharp as a whip. Get up. Stop praying and start investigating. You're asking for victory while one of your guys is busy playing thief. Israel has sinned. You've got a traitor in the house, and until you deal with him, I'm not lifting a finger. Joshua stood up, his face pale, realizing that the little theft he thought was invisible had just cost 36 men their lives. The aftermath was a scene of quiet, heavy heartbreak. They gathered the people, and when the Lord fell to Achan, the mood was somber. There was no joy in the capture. Achan stood there clutching that fancy cloak, looking at the people he betrayed. I saw it, Achan whispered, his voice trembling, as he looked at the ground. I wanted it, and then I took it. And was it worth it? Someone shouted from the back. Was that piece of cloth worth 36 lives? Achan didn't answer. He just stared at the dart, the same that he thought would hide his secrets. He realized that greed had a price tag, and it was always paid in blood. So, I'm going to ask you a question. How often do we convince ourselves that we don't need help or humility because we are crushing it? What are you hiding in your tent that you tell yourself is harmless even while it's slowly poisoning your integrity? When you face a sudden unexpected defeat, do you immediately look for the Achan in your own behavior, or do you just complain about the I in your life? We are often trapped in a cycle where we are blinded by our own history, destined to walk through the same fires and nurse the same wounds generation after generation. It is a sobering truth. While humans rarely learn from their own mistakes, the adversary is a master student of vulnerabilities, waiting for us to repeat the errors. I'm going to repeat. Waiting for us to repeat the errors he already knows we are prone to make. If this blessed your life, please follow, like, share, and subscribe. And be blessed. Thank you.